morning everybody. So today we're going to be doing some RE. Now last week I know we looked at Sikhism and who Guru Nanak was. Now Miss Brooke did say that you had already done a lot of work on Sikhism already last half term and last term. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to a different topic and then maybe come and revisit Sikhism a bit later on again. Okay, so we're going to start off by thinking about what the key events are in your lifetime. What big events have happened from you, maybe from being born all the way up to now. So I just want you to have a pause of the video, have a think about this. What are the key events? You don't need to write anything down yet, because I will give you the opportunity in a couple of slides to do that. But just have a think. What do you think I mean by what are the key events, and what could some of these key events be? Okay, so here are some key events that you might have thought of. So about being born, going to nursery, to primary school. Obviously, as you get older, you might go to high school, college, university, get a job, marriage, have children, have grandchildren. So these are some of the big events. However, I'm sure you have come up with some of your others as well. It could be things like having a baby brother or sister that was born, or it could be something like your parents getting married or remarried. Okay, so I want you now to list the main events in your life. So it could be things like I've just said, being born, going to nursery, having little brothers and sisters being born. You could be your parents, something to do with your parents. It could be something to do with you. As you've grown up, what main events have you done? Have you broken an arm? Have you broken a leg? Have you had injuries? These could be some main events. So I want you now to go and bullet point all the big events that have happened from you being born all the way up to now. Once you've done that, press play on the video and I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so you're going to do a timeline now. So you're going to draw a big arrow across the middle of your page. Okay, it might be worth turning it round so that you can, on an A4 piece of paper, so that it is landscape, and then to do a large timeline. Then what you're going to do, you're going to put all the events onto your timeline. So this is an example of my timeline. So it says where I was born. I've added a little bit extra detail. It says I've obviously been to nursery school, primary school, high school at Wakefield Girls School. I then obviously went to college at Greenhead before going to the University of Birmingham and then the University of Huddersfield for my second degree, my teaching degree. And then from there I got the job as a primary school teacher at Jericho Academy. So you can see how mine is set out and how my events, the big events of my life, have followed it on the timeline. So I'd like you to pause the video now, and you're going to go and do this, and please, if you can, add some pictures. So it could be that you draw for, if you say about going to Jericho Academy, you could draw the badge, the emblem, you could draw an owl. If you're talking about being born, you could draw a little baby or a hospital. So please do go and add some pictures to that, and once you've finished that, you can press play and we'll move on to what we're looking at next. Okay, so we're going to be moving on now and looking at these pictures here. So I want you to have a look at the pictures on the screen, and I want you to think about, what do you think when you see these pictures? What questions or what answers or what things do you think about when you see them? So I want you to pause the video now, have a think. You can maybe bullet point a few ideas down of what you think when you see these pictures. Now we're going to look at all about new life. So obviously babies being what happens at the start of life is something we're going to focus on. So first thing I want us to think about is this question here. How does life change when a new baby arrives? So if you've had brothers and sisters that have been born younger than you have, you can think about how did it all change in your house when a new baby came? If you haven't, just have a think. If you haven't got any younger brothers and sisters, just have a think of what do you think would change in a household? So how would your house, if you had a new baby that came now, how would it change? Okay, so here are just a few ideas I came up with. Sleep. Now, as a really young baby, They do sleep straight quite a lot at the start, but as obviously they grow older, into a few weeks down the line, obviously they start to not sleep as well. So things like sleep that you'll probably find, especially if you've got younger brothers and sisters, that they'll tend to, babies tend not to wake up crying in the middle of the night. So your parents will be up and down to check on them, to make sure they're okay, to make sure that there's nothing that they need. And obviously as you as well, you might hear them crying as well in the night. So sometimes sleep will change. You'll get probably less sleep than you would without a newborn baby. Money. So obviously babies do cost money. Well, children do in general, because if you imagine your supermarket shops get more expensive because you're buying more food, toys you're paying for, things like bedrooms. Obviously to start with, babies need to be in a little cot, whereas obviously as they get older you'll find that you'll have got bigger and bigger beds, so obviously all of that will need to pay for as well. So obviously money is another thing that you'll probably find changes in a lifestyle, and this will affect probably your lifestyles in general, because it might mean that you once you have children, the money you prioritize your money to accommodate for a newborn baby, so that actually you might sacrifice other things like going on holiday or going out for meals, because obviously you've got a newborn baby to look after. So here are just a few ideas. And finally, time as well. You're spending so much time looking after the baby, because obviously as such a young baby, it needs a lot of looking after, making sure they're okay, because like yourselves now, you're able to look after yourselves. However, for a newborn baby that doesn't really know what life is yet, obviously cannot look after themselves. So you're putting a lot of time either as your parents are looking after them, or you might be looking after them and spending time playing with them, making sure they're happy. So again, changing a few circumstances. Okay then, so what does a baby need in the first few weeks? So I want you to pause the video now and think about, what does a baby need? Think about if you've got younger brothers and sisters, what do they need? Maybe if you've got your parents there, maybe you could ask them, what does a baby need in the first few weeks of their life? Once you've had to get that, press play and we'll have a discussion. Okay, so what does a baby need? So you might have come up with things like love. Okay, so love, a baby needs a lot of love and a lot of care from either yourselves or your parents to make sure that you're looking after that child, spending a lot of time with the child, making sure that they're fed properly, that they're on the right type of foods. They're not on the food that we would eat today as at our ages, but they have obviously baby food, which is a lot mushier, which is a lot more like milk, warm milk, especially in the first few weeks, and then obviously as they progress through, as they get older and older and older, they turn into more mushy food. And then it becomes into solid food once obviously their teeth start to grow through and they can start to chew it. What else does a baby need then? Well, it needs a lot of care, because things like going to the toilet, a baby cannot just walk to the toilet, okay? So obviously they'll need their diapers and nappies changing regularly. They'll need washing regularly to make sure they're nice and clean, and putting a lot of moisturiser on their bodies as well to stop them getting dry skin from obviously being laying down quite a lot of the time. So there are just a few things that you may have thought of. You might have thought of a few more of your own, but they were the main things that popped to my head. Okay, so what does a baby need in the first year? Okay, or the first few years? Have a think and then press play once you've had a thought and you've wrote some ideas down maybe, and then we'll have a look together. Okay, so similarly to the first few weeks, again, they still need a lot of care. They need a lot of love to help them to be able to be nice and clean, to go to the toilet, to be fed, to be cared for and loved for, and to be helped that way. Also things like talking to babies. I mean, that's a big thing that a lot of that you might not have thought of. Talking to young children and having conversations with them to help them learn about languages, to learn about how to, if there was food or milk, so that then when they see it, as they can start picking up the languages as they start to speak as well. So talking a lot to babies as well. Also, things like toys or anything that they can touch, giving them sensory objects that they can pick up, have a look at. A lot of babies do like to put the things in their mouth, so obviously you have to be really careful that you don't give anything too small, because obviously you wouldn't want them to swallow it and choke on it. But obviously anything that they can be touching, playing with, bright colours, anything that they can have a go at banging with, so that they're really starting to, what we call our fine motor skills, to get our fingers being able to things like pick up pens, to obviously start to be able to pick up objects and grasp things, and build their strength up so that they can start to crawl, and then lead on to being able to push themselves up and start walking as well. Okay, so what does a baby need? It's whole life. So the whole life of a baby, all the way up to being an adult, what does a baby need? Okay, so I want you to pause the video now and have a think, and then play it once you've got some ideas. Okay, again, I would have thought of things like love and care and family and a home, and a really safe environment to be in. So being surrounded by people that they love, people that other people that love the child, the care of other people looking after the baby, as well as the child grows older, for them to develop those learner traits that we talk about at school, and other personality traits where you start to look after other people, you start to care for other people, you're pleased if someone else does really well, you keep going and you don't give up. So all of these learner traits that we talk about at school, so obviously we develop those through as the baby progresses. Okay, and a real drive as well, because in order for the child to grow up and have their children, that they'll also need to do things like get jobs and earn money, and have a house and a partner as well, so that when they eventually have children, that they can also look after the child just as well as this child or yourselves have been looked after. Okay, I want you to have a think about this one now. So why do people celebrate a newborn baby? So why do we celebrate it? So I want you to press pause now and have a think. Why is it such a celebration? And then press play. Okay, so new babies and new children and new puppies, anything new, it's all about the bringing new life into the world. So bringing a new child into the world or a new puppy into the world, okay, it's that bringing new life into the world. And it is a celebration because some people can't have children, and some people can have children, some people we celebrate it because it's the fact of you have brought this beautiful creature into the world, and you're going to help support it and care for it as it grows up older and older and older, throughout their years as well. When we have celebrations as well, there's something called a baby shower. So before the baby comes, you're celebrating the expected arrival of the child, where people can give gifts for the children and for the baby, or things for them to use as they grow up, and obviously after you can have things like christenings, which celebrate the child as well. Now what we are going to be doing is we are going to be looking at learning all about how different religions celebrate newborn babies and new life to the world. So this is just the introduction to what we're going to continue learning about for the rest of this half term. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to draw me a picture of a baby. And then tell me in little like bubbles or clouds or anything you would like to do around the picture of the baby. And I want you to tell me about what babies need. Either what they need at the start of their life when they've just been born in the first few weeks, what they need moving forward in life in the first few years, or what they need in life as a whole. So their whole life, what will they need? You could also put some information on here about how the life of a family changes when a new baby arrives. We've talked about that as well. So you're putting all that information now into a piece of work. So obviously you'll draw a baby. Here's an example of a baby that you might want to draw something really simple on the screen. You can obviously then draw around it with little bubbles, and lots of information. Okay, if you need to go back and listen again to what we've discussed in this lesson, you can. You could also ask your parents, ask your grandparents. You could also do some research of your own if you would like, to find lots of information about why we celebrate a newborn baby, what their life will be like, and how their life changes, or their family life changes when a new baby is born. So if you've done all of that, then I would like you to put your work on Seesaw for me to have a look at as well. And obviously next time we'll be looking at different religions and how babies are welcomed into the world.